Hello and welcome.
To the Delusional Boyfriend Book Club, where if shipping One Piece characters is wrong, I don't want to be right. I'm Courtney,
And I'm Wolf.
and every Tuesday we're going through one volume of One Piece until we get all the way through it. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe if you haven't already. And today we're going to dive right into Volume 8. If you're reading on the Shonen Jump app, this is chapter 63 all the way through the end of 71. And if you have Volume 8 physical copy, good for you. We have been looking for a box set, and I just wanted to let anyone else who is looking know that there is a sale on the Crunchyroll app, and it's like $40 off. So if you get it through Barnes & Noble, it's like $245 for the box set, and right now on Crunchyroll it's $208. So if you're looking for this set so that you can read along with us, you can find it there. I think I'm going to buy that. Wolfgang's 31st birthday is coming up, so
Thanks for reminding me.
Maybe that'll be a present. This is volume 8. Yeah, in this volume, we pick back up fighting Don Krieg. Jin, his first mate, has been gassed and is dying on the deck of the Barati. Sanji is holding him, trying to get him back to life, and Luffy is taking over this fight with Don Krieg and trying to end it so that he can get justice for Jin and also get rid of these pirates. That way he is no longer in debt to Chef Zeph and can leave without having to work for a year of servitude like he initially had promised when he caused damage to the ship. So do you want to kind of take us through the fight with Don Krieg?
Well, I mean, a lot, like Courtney was saying, a lot of it's a very long fight, and for the most part, the battle is a lot of like Don Krieg being like sneaky with what he's doing. And so one part, like Luffy is trying to punch Don Krieg, and he has like a porcupine cape. But then Luffy, it's kind of goes tick for tat for the most part. So like he brings out the cape, Luffy punches through it, but like also hurts his hand because it's a spike cape.
The porcupine cape.
Yeah, the porcupine cape.
He also has a spear that is like got a knife on. Well, obviously, a spear. All spears have knives on the end.
Yeah, it's a spear that has an explosive capability for some reason. It's like the harder he hits, the more explosive it does.
And Luffy just keeps punching Don Krieg over and over again, and it's kind of humorous because he keeps going like, "Oh, that's 5 punches. That should be about good." He's not getting like through to Don Krieg. When he did get through to him and finally knock him out, he got a bunch of holes in his hand for punching into the porcupine cape. And for a moment, Don Krieg is knocked out, and Luffy returns to Sanji to kind of like see how Jin is doing, and then Don Krieg gets the upper hand when Luffy's back is turned, and he gets him again. So we're just going, like you said, tit for tat. Luffy is charging head on. Finally, after the longest time, he does get Don Krieg's armor to like explode into the water, and Don Krieg is coughing blood out of his mouth, and Jin has finally recovered over with Sanji.
I thought you'd like this part because like Jin's like shirt off, and he's in a like a tank top, almost like a black tank top, and you can see.
I'm over Jin. I don't like that you like Jin. I think he's a pussy ass bitch. I hate him.
Oh wow, last week you liked Jin.
Well, yeah, I liked Jin for 1 second until this volume. So basically Jin regains consciousness and has so much respect for Luffy because Luffy, and Chef Zeph keeps saying this as well, that true grit or real grit always defeats even power and weapons and metal and steel. And I love that because I really like the movie True Grit, and I feel like Oda is like kind of referencing that old Western. And Sanji is watching, and he's also taking note, like, yeah, he has grit, and I want to have that kind of grit too. The same kind of grit that Zoro had to keep fighting and face danger. Jin is also taking note of this, and he's thinking to himself, man, Luffy really has loyalty and commitment and grit, and I want to have commitment and grit. So even though Don Krieg has gassed him to death, left him for dead, abandoned him, talked shit on him to his own men, has like thrown him to the enemy, he still wants to get Don Krieg back. This is the true yaoi in this story, is Don Krieg and Jin, and it is a sad, pathetic love story between two men who definitely deserve each other because they can't imagine doing any better. Like, I hate this couple, and they're definitely in love. It's like Jin, it just keeps going back to his abusive partner. I hate it. I wanted this to be a cute little BL ship.
So you lost respect for Jin because he keeps going back to his old partner?
Okay. Yes, his old abuser. Like, at this point, walk away.
Yeah.
At this point, you've been given the chance. The Barati would take you. Sanji has basically taken you on as a friend. Luffy's taken you on as a friend, and you just want to get back to pirating with Don Krieg. And that's
He might have had a chance to join the Straw Hats if he played his cards right. So I mean,
definitely, and he's powerful. He's the demon. He makes it through this gas attack, and he says, even if I only have a few hours left to live, I want to spend them with Don Krieg. Which in any other circumstance, I'd be like, this is such a good BL. This is such a cute yaoi, but it's not cute. Jin has no respect for himself. Don Krieg,
it's the pirate life.
it's a pirate life, but he could have been a Straw Hat pirate. I just am really mad at Jin in this chapter.
I mean, I doubt he would. I doubt Luffy would have offered to bring him on the ship, but you know,
he could have been a cook with the Barati, and the Baratis would have taken him, even if he had to be a dishwasher. He could have had a different life with people who had maybe some respect for him, and instead he crawls back over to the ship, and even his old shipmates are like, why are you doing this? Don Krieg was going to kill you. And he says, this is my man. He's the only man I've ever had respect for. It's so lame. I'm so not for it. If I was Jin's best friend, I would be like slapping. I'd be like, girl, enough of this. We're done. Block his number. We're not doing this with Don Krieg.
So you didn't like the way that Jin looked with his other shirt, with his like.
I couldn't care less
with his tracksuit off. Okay.
I couldn't care less about his wife beater that he's wearing. Like, and
his tattoo showing.
In another scenario, maybe I did like his tattoos. And also, there's a chapter cover of Zoro with these crazy arm tattoos. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
It was so cute. I really like Zoro with like a bunch of tattoos. That would be very hot. And another note on chapter covers. I mentioned last episode that Oda has a thing for feet. That continues in that panel with Zoro's whole arm tattoo. I wanted to like it. And then what's right there next to him? Close-up shot of Luffy's toes. And they're always in this perspective where they're really close to the camera, so they look huge compared to everything else. And it was so upsetting to me. Also, we meet another character named Arlong here pretty soon, and we got a close-up shot of his toes when we first meet him. And it just made me think, Oda, the first thing he does when he draws any character is think, let me get them toes out. It's disgusting.
It's so funny. I've never noticed that, but maybe you're kind of the weekly updater on the toes now. So
you're going to start noticing. You're going to be very distracted is the word. By the toes. So we have Don Krieg and Jin returning to the shambles of their ship deck, and Sanji, having so much respect for Jin, basically says, you guys have lost fair and square. Jin says, I want to meet you and Luffy at the Grand Line one day. So work hard, and we want a rematch where we can maybe beat you next time. And Sanji says, go ahead and take the extra boat, our resource boat. I know,
they just randomly have a bunch of boats for some reason, which you never see.
And why would we give this pirate crew a boat? I guess Chef Zeph doesn't interrupt it, maybe because he has respect for pirates and he doesn't want them to all just die at sea. He wants them to be on their merry way and keep up the pirate life, but it didn't make much sense to me. And then right at that moment when they're headed off, we have Yosaku getting spit onto the Barati deck, and he is in the mouth of a fish.
A panda shark. I don't know why. I don't know. I was wondering, I wanted them to explain the panda shark more because I can't remember if that's, I'm going to have to watch that episode again because it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like he randomly comes out of the ocean in a shark's mouth and lands on the Barati.
I feel like there's a couple plot holes in this volume, and that's one of them where I was like, well, maybe no, Yosaku was just in the water because he was trying to escape the gas. So that makes sense but then he gets eaten by this panda shark, spit back up on shore.
No, I want to say that they explain it maybe in the anime, like panda sharks are a friendly shark or something like that. Like I can't remember what it is, but like it's something weird. Okay. That's a very weird one.
So Yosaku is in the mouth of this shark, and he looks up at these guys and says, Nami, we couldn't find Nami. We were trying to follow her ship path, and I have a good idea of where she's going. And Luffy is basically with Sanji, and he says, well, how could you know where they're going? And he says, well, I saw Nami looking at a bounty hunter or at a wanted poster for Arlong, and I know that it kind of ticked her off. So I think she's on her way in that direction to Arlong Park.
And that was the general direction she was sailing in.
Exactly. So Luffy gets a little bit of medical attention. Sanji gets a little medical attention. Luffy gets his hat back. And then
you get like a super sweet scene where like it's a very heartwarming scene where like all the cooks are pretty much preparing Sanji to go out to the sea, but they don't want him to go, or Sanji doesn't want to go. So he makes soup, and all the cooks are kind of like, "We don't want you to like be mad, but your soup's really bad," and they're all like throwing the soup down on the ground.
They're roasting him. They're like,
Mhm.
this is the worst soup we've ever tasted. And you can tell we got a little moment where you saw Chef Zeph looking down at Luffy and Sanji, and they were talking about the Grand Line and the blue, what is it? The all blue.
All blue,
The
yeah.
all blue, which is where all the seafood in the world is in one spot. And Chef Zeph has concocted this plan to have all of the other cooks haze Sanji and tell him how bad his food is. And when Chef Zeph eats it, he says, this soup tastes like crap. And there should have been a crap counter in this volume because they say the word crap 1,000 times.
Yeah, they do.
And then in one of the chapter notes, somebody asks a Q&A with Oda, and they say, does Sanji like to say the word crap? And he says, oh, he loves to say the word crap. So the crap geezer, Chef Zeph, is hazing him and says, your soup is awful. It's not as good as mine. And Sanji says, how is yours any different from mine? Yours is just the same. And you're the one who's bad at cooking. And Chef Zeph punches him in the face, and he never punches anybody. His whole thing is that he kicks people, and he would never waste his hands on a lowlife in a fight. But he punches Sanji in the face and he says, I've cooked all over the world, and you can never be good as me if you didn't cook all over the world. So get out there and go cook. And Sanji throws a huge fit. Everyone is pouring their soup on the ground, and Luffy is drinking the soup going, this soup is great. I don't know what you guys are talking about. This is like the best soup I've ever had. So Sanji goes and sits out on the deck, and he's kind of crying to himself, smoking cigarettes, and hears all of the old cooks saying, it was really hard to lie to him about his soup. That broke my heart. It was really harsh, Chef Zeph. Do you think we had to do that? And Chef Zeph says he would have never left if we didn't give him a good reason to go. It was really sad. And then Sanji is talking to himself out on the deck, and he goes, I can hear you guys. You're horrible at acting. And he takes it upon himself to go in and say, okay, Luffy, I'll go with you. I'll leave. We can travel to the Grand Line and find the all blue. I have a dream. It's as big as your dream, as big as Zoro's dream. And I've got the grit it takes to get it done. So let's head out. And Sanji has a little boat, I guess, that is his personal boat. And he gets it ready to go. And as they're leaving, he turns his back, and Luffy says, don't you need to say bye to all of them? And Sanji says, no, I don't need to. It's all right. And then Patty and Carne, as he's walking off the ship, they try to get one over on him. They try to hit him
one last time. Yep.
And he gets them first because he's a better fighter. They start crying and yelling after him. And they're like, Sanji, we are really going to miss you. We love you. You're a great cook. Come back, get good at cooking, and come back to us. And Chef Zeph also hollers out to him and says,
keep your feet dry.
Sanji, keep your feet dry. And it was so cute. And Sanji starts crying and turns back around and gets on his knees and starts bowing and says, Chef Zeph, I owe you my life. Thank you for taking care of me. Thank you for saving me.
I'll never forget this.
I'll never forget you. And so Chef Zeph yells back at him and says, a real man would leave quietly and not make a scene. And they're all blubbering. They're crying out of control. And even as they sail off, Yosaku is crying so much he can barely see where he's steering. And they have a little talk about Nami and how they're going to find her. And Sanji yet again keeps going on and on about how much he loves Nami and how he's doing all of this so that he can cook for Nami. And Luffy kind of draws a funny picture of Nami as a fish, and it pisses off Sanji. And you get this dynamic where Sanji is just simping over Nami already. So they're on their way. Zoro is tied up in the ship so that he can't move around, so that his injuries will heal, because he's still half dead from Mihawk getting him.
It kind of cuts to a different ship where it's Usopp, Johnny, that's the other guy's name, Johnny, and then Zoro's on that ship.
I didn't understand. So this is where I thought there was a plot hole. I thought there was one ship, all of them were on it.
No, this is the ship that went ahead.
Okay.
After Zoro fought Mihawk, he was all cut up, and so Usopp put him on the ship. Johnny and Yusako got on the ship, and then what happened was Yusako jumped off the ship and started swimming back to kind of tell them which direction it was in.
Oh, and that's how he got eaten by the panda shark.
And that's how he got eaten. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so this makes so much more sense. So we have Sanji and Luffy and Yusako on one, and they're on their way. And then we have Usopp and Zoro and Johnny on another one, correct?
Johnny's on the first one. Yusako's on
a lot of leg.
Yeah, it's fine.
So then we have them getting where they're going, and this is where I was confused because we see Zoro and Usopp and Yosaku on one.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting to the island where Nami is, and they're pulling into shore. And when they see the fishmen, the one brother and Usopp jump overboard because they're like, oh my gosh, we thought we were pulling up to like a friendly harbor, but those are fishmen, and we know the fishmen are the most dangerous. So they jump overboard and they're yelling back to Zoro, we'll tell Luffy that you died a brave, honorable man. They totally abandoned ship and abandoned the swordsman.
He's just kind of tied up on the mast.
It's so cowardly and very canon. It's very Usopp, you know?
Mm-hmm. And they kind of like swim up to mainland, and they leave Zoro just kind of tied up behind. And what happens is as soon as they get on the mainland, because they're fishmen, they're able to jump, like swim after them super fast and jump on water. And Usopp and Johnny kind of start taking off running. And Johnny peels around a building really quick and is able to hide while Usopp keeps going down this like weird path that's being made. And we don't really understand what's going on with this path, but like the whole town is flipped upside down, like literally upside down. The roofs of the buildings are on the ground while it's completely just flipped.
I never noticed that.
Oh yeah, no, it's because it says in the notes, it's like a few days earlier, Arlon got upset and destroyed a whole town.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
So Usopp's running down and he's getting chased by this fish man.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden what happens is like this like foot comes out and he gets tripped. Very Usopp like, and it turns out to be a kid who
mistook
Usopp to be Arlon for the most part and is about to stab him, and all of a sudden we get another person who grabs the kid's arm, and it's Nojiko. And at this point we don't know, but this is going to be Nami's sister. And it kind of takes us to a flashback as soon as she grabs his arm, and it shows Nami outside of Arlon Park, which is where Arlon's where his whole fortress is. And this kid is like running up to Arlon Park and is like yelling at Arlon and stuff. He's like, "Come on, Arlon, you're a coward." And Nami hits him over the face, like hits him in the face. Get out of here! Like, don't die for nothing.
And she throws some money down at him, and she says, "Spend the money well, but get out of here." And so we see that kid again trying to get Arlong, but he's mistaken Arlong, who has a big long swordfish nose, for Usopp. Mm-hmm. And Usopp gets tripped by him. The fishmen are coming up. And Nojiko basically
just knocks him out
and saves him. We don't really know what she said to the fishman who's coming up, who is chasing him to get them out of that situation. But we do know, she must be a villager in this town, and maybe she knows the fishman, maybe she has some leeway. So he wakes back up in Nojiko's house, which is on a tangerine farm. Mm-hmm. And this is getting into one of the things that like really pulled me into One Piece, the anime,
it's a good background,
is Arlong Park. Mm-hmm. It's a really good arc.
This is Nami's whole background story.
Yeah, which we've been waiting for now for 70 episodes, just 70 chapters, mm-hmm. or this is the 8th volume. So we're just getting into it in the 8th volume. So we have Nojiko, the little kid, and Usopp all sitting down for some tea. And Nojiko is telling the kid, if you want to die, you can die. I hate ungrateful brats. I knew a kid once who gave up everything and mm-hmm. took on living the worst life possible to do something good for the people who cared about her, and to basically pay back the people who gave her a chance at life. So if you're going to be ungrateful for the chance I've given you at life, I've saved your life twice now, kid, get out of here. And he says, no, I don't want to be ungrateful, but what do I do? And she says, if you still have a mother who loves you, you'll go back to her. I'm sure she misses you. And so he leaves, and Usopp gets the background from Nojiko. He says, where's Nami? And she says, oh, don't you know about the witch in Arlong Park? Mm-hmm. And he goes, what? And she says, Nami works for Arlong. And this upsets Usopp because he thinks that Nami has been tricking them this whole time, and he doesn't know the whole story. And basically, Nojiko says, it's not everything you think. Me and Nami grew up here on this tangerine farm, and we're orphans. The woman who raised us was killed, and that is kind of where Nami is coming from. And he says, well, I'm mad at trusting her because she was so nice to us and it was all just an act. And Nojiko goes, oh, the witch was being nice. That's good to hear, because clearly she has a reputation, Nami does, in this village for being a troublemaker. And then it flashes over to Arlong Park, where we have Zoro getting pulled in on his little dinghy, and Arlong is introduced. This is where we get the shot of his toes as he's sitting in like a throne, basically.
He's like a sword man. He's like a swordfish fishman.
Yes, and he is going on and on about his own kind of eugenics scheme, about how the fishmen are the most evolved humans. They can breathe underwater, so at best. Nami comes out and she says, you're going on about this again. I am just as evolved as you guys, and I'm not a fish man. I'm just as smart as you. And he says, oh, Nami, this doesn't apply to you. You're my favorite navigator, my favorite. She draws maps, so she is a part of his crew. And we see for the first time, I don't, maybe in all of the previous chapters, she's wearing short sleeves that cover her tattoo, because this is the first time we see her in this tank top, and she has a huge Arlong tattoo. We see his flag and we can see that they match, and then it has a box right on the manga panel that says Nami, Arlong's like second in command or whatever, Arlong's officer,
navigator.
Yeah, and I think it also calls her like an officer, like she's high up in his crew.
Sure, yeah, she is.
So then Nami is walking out onto this scene where Zoro's all tied up and her cover is about to get blown with both Zoro and Arlong, and she sees Zoro and says, oh, this is the guy I stole the treasure from. Let him go, because he can see now that I was tricking him and there's no reason to come after me. And Zoro, wondering what the fuck is going on, kind of goes to pull a fast one on her. But at the same time, Arlong says a weird comment about how Nami traded, how she'll do anything for treasure, and she even forgave
the death of her family, for the most part,
the killing of her mother, in order just for money,
which kind of like shocks Nami that he would say that.
And Zoro sees the expression on her face and takes this moment to test her and throws himself into the water and starts drowning, and she jumps in to save him. And when he gets pulled out, he says, oh, how crazy for a pirate like you to save a drowning man. You must have a heart after all. And then she punches him in his wounds and tries to, I think, knock him out so that he won't try that again. And then tells all of the other men to throw him in jail. She'll deal with him later. And then from there...
So from there, what happened? They hear that one of the crew members... So what happened to the fortress? And kind of tells everyone that one of the crew members from the ship escapes, and he's probably in the village next door. And Arlong is like, I got to go to that village. I have business there anyway. And so the scene opens up with Arlong coming to the village. Everyone's kind of panicking because they already paid him like this
protection fee.
Yeah, this protection fee. So like the fishmen don't come and ravage their village. And so what happens is the scene opens up with Arlong coming to the village, and there's a guy,
Ganzo?
Yeah, his name, I don't think, do you know his name yet?
I think it's Ganzo because it says it right on
the
corner of the panel.
It tells you the name. Okay, so he kind of ends up being like the village mayor, but also
kind of the sheriff, maybe.
Yeah, and kind of the sheriff, because like for the most part, Arlong has taken over. This is his territory, quote unquote, and he's taken over everything. So he's the mayor of this town. Arlong is technically. So this guy's like the sheriff, but he was the mayor at one point.
And he has scars all over him. So we know he's been through a bunch. And he says that he has a weapon. And Arlong is like, oh, I hear you have a weapon where you're not allowed to have weapons. That's how peace is not kept, is when people have weapons. And he says, oh, I collect weapons. That's my shtick. I have to be able to have a gun here or there. And it is interesting, living in America, I'm very liberal, and still our right to bear arms is like a strong right, because if you can't bear arms and some tyrannical force takes over, you have nothing to fight back. And of course, all these fishmen are basically weapons in themselves because they have these sharp teeth. They can breathe underwater.
10 times stronger than a man.
And they have weapons on top of all of that. They do use weapons. So we see that this sheriff is trying to take back a little bit of freedom by having a gun. He looks like he's been beaten down from all of these scars. And we see that the village is not only being taxed super heavily by these fishmen, but they're also not allowing them to have these kind of personal freedoms, like protecting themselves. So then from there, is that where the chapter kind of ends?
Yeah, so what happens, the way the chapter ends is he shows up to the village and you get Usopp talking to Nami's sister. And so they're kind of like talking about different things with involving Nami, saying that, like, you know, Nami's really not a bad person. And then you get another scene that is the closing chapter scene of Nami letting Zoro out of the jail and saying, get out of here before Arlong gets back. And that's exactly where it ends.
It's like, escape, you gotta go. And I really love that scene because, of course, we can tell that Zoro knows Nami is stuck here and he's not exactly just going to escape. He's going to try to break her out too. And we're going to get the whole backstory coming up. It's kind of heart-wrenching. I hope you guys are ready for it. We really want to talk about my delusional boyfriend from this episode, but I'm too nervous to ask you what yours is because every week you have been giving me the worst answer for delusional boyfriends.
I don't think so.
Yes, you have. Last week it was Don Krieg.
My delusional boyfriend from this is Chef Zeph.
Okay, Chef Zeph is such a good answer. Thank God. When you said Don Krieg last week, it made my blood pressure so high.
What about Jin? You liked Jin 2 weeks ago.
I was okay with Jin, but I'm still kind of mad about Jin. And before that, it was like Yasaku or Johnny. Like, you're just picking the worst. Okay, let's talk about Chef Zeph. So your delusional boyfriend is Chef Zeph this week.
Yep.
Okay, tell me why.
I just think there's a really heartfelt moment when he's, you know, saying goodbye to Sanji and everything. It's really nice. So I give it to him. Also, it's the last time we see him for a time.
I really like Chef Zeph. That was mine from last week. So a big shout out to Chef Zeph. You're a hottie. You're a great father. I love you. I love you. My delusional boyfriend from this week. Can you take a guess at who it is?
Don Krieg.
It's Nojiko.
Nojiko? Okay.
She is so hot. Her tattoos, her haircut, her lipstick. She kind of looks like Gyaru, like the Gyaru style where they have darker makeup and lighter lipstick and are kind of really girly femme, you know?
Sure.
I really liked Nojiko. I know I love her from the anime. And as soon as I met her and she knocks out Usopp and saves that kid twice and is still living on her tangerine farm, I was like, that's my girl.
She's a cool character. I really like her a lot. I mean, her and Nami, hot. Yeah, she's really hot. But I totally get it. You kind of get back and forth with her just because you'll have like a male bird that will fly over and kind of show you some of the perspectives of all the characters you've met so far. And so you get little perspectives of her every once in a while, but she's really cool.
I like that because it kind of shows that they're still alive.
Yeah.
And I really love her tattoo. I really want to get her tattoo. She has a big heart here on her chest that extends out over her shoulders. There's like a line from the heart across her collarbones into her shoulders. And then down one arm, she has some like tribal tattoos. And I think it's so hot. So Nojiko, chef's kiss, love you. And would you date Chef Zeph IRL?
No, but I definitely date Nojiko.
Me too. And I would date Chef Zeph. Absolutely. How did delusional boyfriends? Is he beating, I guess your number one right at this point is still probably Shanks or Buggy, who are boyfriends for sure. Probably. Buggy is your number one over Shanks?
Yeah, because
that's sickening.
You just get more Buggy in the show up to this point. But
the show, we're talking about the manga. You don't really get either of them.
No, same. I mean, like, he's had a bigger influence on my entire life than Shanks has.
And Buggy, I stand corrected because Buggy, although he's not in the manga, every chapter opening just about is a flash over to Buggy and what's going on with him and his crew. He still has no torso and he's hanging out with Alvida, and Alvida is the bad pirate from Kobe's crew.
Yep.
And so those two have linked up. Alvida's very hot sometimes, which is confusing because half the time she is really ugly and old and big, and half the time she is very sexy.
Yeah, I can't remember if she has a devil fruit that makes her hot and then she can get bigger as a woman.
Or if she like doesn't eat or something, then she loses her beauty.
That, or, I mean, it's either that or Luffy hit her so hard that knocked like the weight off of her. Like, I can't remember if that's what happens because like, and for some reason why I'm saying that is because I somehow remember this being like a thing because she does come back in one of the random like side episodes, and she says something like that.
But she's definitely beautiful in these panels with Buggy, and she looks almost like Robin, who is a character we'll meet much later, but she's drawn very similarly. And I wonder if Oda was just like, oh, damn it, I shouldn't have wasted this on this character. I've got to kind of give this design to somebody else, because very similar body type and haircut and everything. So it has been fun to follow Buggy's misadventures as he I've heard people say he fails upward, which is a funny way to put it.
He does.
Because he never really loses. He just kind of accidentally succeeds.
Everything that successful that happens is by accident. So it's kind of this weird.
And every time he escapes death, he escapes death by accident. It's never like due to him being a good fighter. It's just because he's a clown. It's very funny, and he continues to be the comic relief.
Yeah.
So going on from this volume, next week on Tuesday, we will have volume 9, and that will cover probably another 8 or 9 chapters. I think that's about how many chapters are in a volume.
It's been pretty consistent, yeah.
Make sure to also follow us on our socials, Delusional BF Book Club or Delusional Boyfriend Book Club, everywhere. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe there. If you're not watching us on YouTube, you should go check us out on YouTube. Those views always help a lot. And if you're listening on the podcast apps, make sure that you turn on auto downloads so that any bonus content we release is delivered automatically to you. If you're only listening to these One Piece episodes and you love BL and the BL snippets that you're getting here and there, check out the Thursday episodes that we release every week. Those are on BL live action, BL anime, BL manhwa, and then normal romance novels, which do have some on this calendar for this year. We have some gay ones, some straight ones, some why choose. Thank you so much for doing this with me, Wolfgang. I love having you on the podcast.
Oh, I love hanging out. This is a good time. Just reading the chapters with you, and kind of, I think it's more fun than watching the show right now.
Yeah, for sure. I am having a good time just pausing on the show. I'm about to get to a part where somebody dies that I don't want to die. So it's fun to go back and revisit these arcs where I found these characters and fell in love with them for the first time.
It's all about the good times right now.
All about the good times right now. Really happy to be nostalgically living in the past. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Will, for being here. And until next time, remember, sometimes the delusion
is the solution.
Bye.
See you guys.